Okay, everybody. We have worked in groups on our mind webs about the Seinfeld clip that we watched. We watched a clip from the Seinfeld episode, The Millennium. This episode was about two friends competing. They're trying to get people to come to their New Year's Eve parties. And it's really funny because the parties aren't happening for another 2 years, so they're planning these parties very early. We had both groups do a mind web. We heard from each group. Let's explore some of the things that we've written down for the mind web. So, very interesting that both groups agreed that the central theme or idea of this episode was acceptance. Makes sense though, right? Because again, it's about two friends trying to get other friends to go to their party, right? Big part of getting people to come to your party is acceptance and feeling accepted. Okay, let's talk about some of these other ideas that come out of this. Competition, yeah. Why is competition a part of this? Yeah. Kramer wants people to come to his party. Newman wants everybody to come to his party, and they both won't tolerate the other having more people come to their party. So they start pulling out all the stops to make their parties fun and interesting. And there's a lot of great little details in this episode, right? Like Kramer has extra balloons. Kramer has a certain type of ice. Newman has booked a room at a restaurant that revolves in Times Square. Really funny, right? Okay. We also had change. This is a big one that comes out of this. Why is change important? Yeah, the new year is coming. In this case, again, since this episode is set in the late 90s, new millennium is coming. There's a lot of stuff in this episode about change, people wanting to change their lives. Newman doesn't like Jerry, and he doesn't want Jerry coming to his party, and he even says, going forward in the new millennium, Newman's going to be Jerry free. He doesn't want Jerry in his life. Okay, we also have inclusion, which that makes a lot of sense, why inclusion would be connected to acceptance. Status was another idea that we heard about. That's a big one too. There's a lot of status stuff tied up in people coming to your party, especially if it's a New Year's party, right? If you have a big fun party with lots of people, it's natural to feel like your status is going to be higher within the friend group because you've got this great party. Yeah, this was an interesting one too, this idea of little joys that came out of this, and this was tied to some of the fun little things that are going to be at the party. Kramer mentions a certain type of ice. He mentions balloons. Newman mentions having a musician perform at his party. It's kind of funny because these are these seemingly little details that sort of impact a lot of all these other ideas that come out of acceptance, right? This ice and these balloons and this musician. I think it could be tied to the competitive aspect of both of these guys are trying to throw the best party possible, and they're doing it by having all these like little details that make it fun. Okay, people pleasing. This is a really big one. Both groups had this idea for their mind web. I'm going to underline this like 5 times because it's really important. People pleasing is a big part of this episode. Kramer really wants Jerry to go to his party. Newman doesn't want to have anything to do with Jerry. Kramer wants to be able to celebrate the party with both Newman and Jerry, and so he spends a lot of the episode feeling caught between the two of them and having to do a lot of people pleasing. And it's what makes this episode so entertaining because we see him sort of caught between two things. Has anyone ever felt that way? Has anyone ever thrown a party or planned a party, but maybe you're worried because two of your friends maybe don't like each other and you know that they're both going to the party. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us, raise your hand. Yeah, a lot of us have had that experience. So this one in particular, I think, is what makes this episode so good because I'll even write it here. It's relatable. Even though, how do you spell relatable? Even though a lot of what happens in this Seinfeld episode is pretty ridiculous and silly, I think it's interesting to us and relatable and relevant to us because everything that happens is relatable. Even though they're planning this party 2 years in advance, which is not something a lot of people would do, right? They're planning this party 2 years in advance. It's still really funny because at the core of it, we all just want to be accepted. We all want our friends to like us. We all want to be included, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we've got a little more to explore, but I think it's pretty interesting that we only watched a 5-minute clip of this episode. And even in that 5-minute clip, we've really been able to explore a lot of interesting ideas and themes. Okay, great job. Any questions? Okay, great job.